as curious as I am about this week's Parsha. It's a double Parsha, Chukat-Balak. As you can see, there's a donkey involved in this week's Parsha. In this week's Parshiot, there's a whole lot of narrative going on, some of which is the following. Miriam dies, and the people thirst for water. A connection? I think so. God tells Moses to speak to the rock. He hits it, and water pours forth. And Moshe is told he and Aaron will not enter the land. Aaron dies. The people mourn. Balak, the king of Moab, orders the prophet Bilaam to curse the Israelites. Bilaam is berated by his donkey. And the Parsha ends with Pinchas killing a couple engaged in cross-tribal hanky-panky. A preview of next week's Parsha. And so we begin and we take a look at this week's Parsha in the eyes of, what's going on here? Well, I want you to know that I am a games person, and all those things should not have been disappearing so quickly, but they did. As a matter of fact, in this week's Parsha, I'm going to be talking about competition. And boy, am I a competitive person. You would not know that about me. I suspect I don't know that about you, Orly, who has just joined us. In fact, all of us are competitive at some time. Don't challenge me to a game of Scrabble, because I won't want to lose. I also am engaged every day with other word games, Wordle and Spelling Bee, and of course the New York Times crossword puzzle. I am not only competitive with other people, I am competitive with myself. That's the worst part of being competitive, which is that I can't let something go. And so I I spend more important time trying to figure out every last word in the spelling bee so I can get to genius. Forget it. I've only been to the B one time in my life, and I cheated to get there. But that's besides the point. Okay, so I'm a competitive person. Let that stand on its own. How the heck does this come in this week's Parsha? Oh, wait a second before I get there. I am competitive in many, many ways. You all know that I am a big-time baseball fan. In fact, you see, where this picture was taken in 2012, I was there at this game when Jason Worth hit a walk-off homer for my beloved Washington Nationals to win the game. I'll tell you, that stadium lifted on a cloud of glory. It was so exciting. I am competitive for others, especially for my team. I don't want to see my team lose. And when they lose 3 games in the past week because their bullpen sucks, oh my God, I am beside myself, which leads me to a picture like this, which is my same team, the same player, Jason Worth. He is so sad there because that is the 5th game of the playoffs in 2012 where they blew a 5-0 lead in the 6th inning. Oh my God. And I won't even go into the time that the game lasted through Ne'ilah into the break fast of Yom Kippur where they lost in 12 innings because the manager... Okay, I'm not going to get into that. Let's get back to this. More ways in being competitive. I'm even competitive with Waze. How is one competitive with Waze? When you're trying to get somewhere and you're using Waze, you play the game. Beat Waze. In other words, Waze tells you that you're going to arrive at 2:34. Well, you'll do everything you do to arrive at 2:33. And if you arrive earlier than Waze says you're going to arrive there, you win. Yay! You have beaten Waze. Isn't that a very important part of your life? Not. Competition is sometimes a zero-sum game. In order for someone to win, someone needs to lose. From this week's Parsha, from Parshat Balak and the prophet Bilaam. V'yisa Bilaam et einav. And Bilaam lifted up his eyes. Okay, remember, his boss who was paying him, yes, he is a mercenary. He's been paid good money to go out and curse the Israelites because the Israelites are becoming a threat to the king Balak, the king of Moab. And when Bilaam for the second time, or was it the third time, lifts up his eyes to look at the tents, he can't curse the Israelites. In fact, his mouth opens because he saw Israel, Vayaret Yisrael, Shochen Lishvatav, dwelling according to their tribes. And what happened? Vatahi alav Ruach Elohim. And the spirit of Elohim came upon him. You see, this Ruach HaKodesh, it can come through us at any time, even when we're very, very angry, or if we're looking to do damage, all of a sudden, our whole persona opens up, and instead of a curse, a blessing comes. And we say, Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov mishchenotecha Yisrael. And Bilam, he blesses the people. He says, Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov. Oh, how goodly, how beautiful, how sweet are your tents, Jacob. Your dwelling places, Yisrael. Doesn't sound much like a curse to me. Here's a beautiful image from the pen of Steve Silbert. Notice something interesting about the way that Steve illustrated the tents. Take a look at the openings of the tents. Steve has drawn them in such a way that the tent openings are not facing each other, but they're all facing out. I wonder if Steve knew of the Midrash. The Midrash teaches, well, let me go back actually for a second. The Midrash teaches that Bilaam looked up and saw. Bilaam looked up and saw the entrances to the tents were not facing each other, ensuring privacy. And with that, he acknowledged that the people were worthy of having the divine presence rest on them. Thus, Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov, mishchenotecha Yisrael. How good are your tents, O Yaakov, and your dwelling places, your solidness, O Yisrael. Now, the Baal Shem Tov. The Baal Shem Tov pulls these two verses together. Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov and mishchenotecha Yisrael. He pulls these two verses together in an interesting way. That, by the way, is a illustration, a drawing of the Baal Shem Tov in his carriage by Eliezer Sobel. You know, many of the tales of the Baal Shem Tov have him defying gravity. He did it way before, way before the musical came out. And he did miraculous deeds. And he would arrive a second later to locations miles and miles away. And to the Baal Shem Tov, the openings of the tents were equivalent to our mouths. The tents are not opening up against each other, are, according to the understanding and the psycho-spiritual understanding, the Hasidic understanding of the Baal Shem Tov, that we don't open our mouths against each other. When we study Torah, for example, it should be for the sake of gaining wisdom, for the sake of heaven, l'shem hashamayim, not for engaging in verbal sparring to win arguments, to not be as a zero-sum game, but that we all win. Seeking truth, of course, here is the higher purpose. When we study Torah, it should be for the sake of gaining wisdom. L'shem hashamayim, not for engaging in verbal sparring to win arguments. Seeking truth is the higher purpose. Cooperation over competition. And so, my sweet friends, as a preview of the breakthrough rooms to come, which do you lean into? When are you more competitive? When do you tend to be more cooperative? Think on that, and we'll come back to it later. And our blessing for this Shabbos day, on the Shabbat Chukat-Balak, may you be blessed with wisdom to trade rivalry for connection. May your heart remain open to the abundance of the world, knowing that there is room for all at the table to thrive. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.